Today's story is from an anthology called Leaf Magic and 5 Other Favourites by Margaret Mahy. And the first story in the book, and the one I'm going to read today, is called Leaf Magic. When Michael ran home from school, he heard the wind at his heels rustling like a dog in the grass. As he ran, a thought came into his mind. I wish I had a dog. Running would be more fun with a dog. The way home wound through a spinney of trees. It was autumn, and the trees were like bonfires, burning arrows and fountains of gold. But Michael ran past without even seeing them. I wish I had a dog, he said aloud in time to his running. I wish I had a dog, I wish I had a dog, I wish I had a dog. The trees heard him and rustled to each other. A dog with a whisking tail, Michael added. The wind ran past him. Michael tried to whistle to it, but the wind is nobody's dog and goes only where it wants to. It threw a handful of bright and stolen leaves all over Michael and went off leaping among the trees. Michael thought for a moment that he could see its tail whisking in the grass. He brushed the leaves off his shoulders. An orange dog with a whisking tail, Michael went on, making up a dog out of autumn and out of the wind. The trees rustled again as he left them behind and came onto the road. Patter, patter, patter. Something was following him. It's my dog, Michael said, but he did not turn round in case it wasn't. Patter, patter, patter. At last, Michael just had to look over his shoulder. A big orange leaf was following him. Too big to come from any tree that Michael knew. When he stopped, the leaf stopped too. He went on again. Patter, patter, patter went the leaf, following him. Some men working on the roadside laughed to see a leaf following a boy. Michael grew angry with the leaf and ran faster to get away from it. The faster he ran, the faster the leaf followed him, tumbling like an autumn-tinted clown head over heels in the stones along the roadside. No matter how he tacked and dodged on the way home, he could not lose the leaf. He crawled through a hedge, but the leaf flew over it, light and rustling. He jumped over a creek, and the leaf jumped after him. What was worse, it jumped better than he did. He was glad to get home and shut the door behind him. The leaf could not get in. Later that evening, his mother went to draw the curtains. She laughed and said, "There's such a big autumn leaf out here on the windowsill, and it's fluttering up and down like a moth trying to get at the light. It looks as if it's alive." "Don't let it in," said Michael quickly. "I think it's something horrible pretending to look like a leaf." He was glad when his mother pulled the curtains, but that night, when he lay in bed, something rustled and sighed on his own windowsill, and he knew it was the leaf. Next day, it followed him to school. As he sat at his lessons, he saw it dancing like a flame out in the playground, waiting for him. When he went out to play, it bounced at his heels. Michael made up his mind to trap the leaf. He chased after it, but it wouldn't let itself be caught. It crouched and then flitted away. It teased him and tricked him. Michael felt that the leaf was enjoying itself thoroughly. Everybody laughed but Michael. At last, he decided he must be under some witch's spell. "I'll have to go and ask Fish and Chips about it," he thought. "He'll know what to do." Fish and Chips was an old, whiskery man who lived in a cottage by the sea. He had built it himself, The walls were made of driftwood and fish bones, and it was thatched with seaweed. Fish and Chips was not only whiskery, but wise as well. He was almost a wizard, really. After school, instead of going home by the trees, Michael ran down onto the beach. He left a trail of footmarks behind him in the soft sand, and the leaf skipped happily in and out of them. Once it rushed down to the sea to taste the salt water. Once it sailed up to where the sand ended and the grass began, but all the time it was really following Michael closely. Fish and Chips was sitting at the door of his house. Michael went right up to him, but the leaf stayed a short distance away, playing by itself and watching them. "Ah," said Fish and Chips, "I see you are being haunted. Do you want me to help you?" "Yes, please," said Michael. "That leaf has been following me since yesterday." "It must like you," Fish and Chips remarked. "But I don't want it," Michael said. "Can you catch it?" "Oh yes, I think so," Fish and Chips replied. "It seems friendly and full of curiosity. Let us hide behind the door and see if it comes after us." They hid behind the door with the brooms, gumboots, raincoats and milk bottles all belonging to Fish and Chips. Through the crack in the door, Michael could see the leaf coming closer and closer. It hesitated on the threshold of the cabin and then came in. "Now!" said Fish and Chips, and Michael slammed the door shut while Fish and Chips jumped out and caught the leaf. Michael saw it twisting for a moment in his brown hands as if he were holding a little fire. Then Fish and Chips opened a big box and dropped the leaf in. The lid slammed down. The big orange leaf was shut up, alone in the dark. "It won't trouble you again," Fish and Chips told him. "Thank you very much," Michael said politely. "How much do I owe you?" "Whistle a sea shanty for me," Fish and Chips replied. "Whistle it into this bottle and I'll be able to use it again sometime." So Michael whistled. "What shall we do with a drunken sailor?" into the bottle. Then Fish and Chips corked it up quickly before the tune had time to get out. As Michael left, he was writing a label for it. Michael slowly started off home across the beach. All the time he was listening to hear the rustling of the leaf behind him. He kept looking back over his shoulder. Halfway across the beach, he stopped. The beach looked empty without the bright leaf tossing behind him. He thought of it, shut in that dark box in the seaweed and fishbones cabin. How it would hate being boxed up. Suddenly, he found he was missing the leaf. Michael took one more step, and then he turned round and went back to Fish and Chips' cabin. Fish and Chips was putting the bottle up on a high shelf. "What, more leaves already?" he asked. "Well, not actually," Michael said in a small voice. "I just decided I wanted the old one back after all." "Oh well," said Fish and Chips. "Often people do want them back, but they don't often get them back. Not quite the same. They change, you know." "Change?" asked Michael. Fish and Chips opened his box. Out jumped a big orange dog with a whisking tail. "Like that," said Fish and Chips. The dog put its paws on Michael's chest and licked his face. "My dog!" Michael cried. "It's my dog!" He took its paws in his hands and they danced until the fish bones rattled. Thank you," Michael called to Fish and Chips. "Don't thank me," Fish and Chips said. "You did it all by coming back for your leaf. That's the way with magic. But just get out of my cabin before you shake the fish bones down." Michael leapt out through the door and ran off along the beach. The dog came bounding after him and they set off home. As they ran under the trees, leaves fell over them like a shower of gold. The wind tried to join in the chase, but Michael and his dog were too fast for it. Trying to pretend it did not care, the wind made itself a bright scarf out of the fallen leaves and watched Michael and his autumn dog speed up the road, burrow through the hedge, jump the creek and come home at last. Laughing to itself, the wind leapt into a shining bush and sat there rustling like a salamander in the heart of a fire.